for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallow, hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can't lose, we always win, you're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there's none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can't lose, we always win, you're our champion. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallow, hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallow, hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can't lose, we always win, you're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can't lose, we always win, you're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can't lose, we always win, you're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can't lose, we always win, you're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can't lose, always win. You're our champion. Oh. Come on and Baruch Yahuwah with me. 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 Hello, Yahuwah. Hello, Yahuwah. Hello, Yahuwah. Hello, Yahuwah. Come on and worship Yahuwah with me. 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 Hello, Yahuwah. Hello, Yahuwah. Hello, Yahuwah. Hello, Yahuwah. Come on and praise Yahuwah with me. 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 Hello, Yahuwah. Hello, Yahuwah. Hello, Yahuwah. Hello, Yahuwah. Come on and sing Yahuwah with me. 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 Hello, Yahuwah. Hello, Yahuwah. Hello, Yahuwah. Hello, Yahuwah. Hello, Yahuwah. Hello, Yahuwah. Come on and clap your hands with me. 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 Hello, Allow Yahuwah. Allow Yahuwah. Allow Yahuwah. Allow Yahuwah. Allow Yahuwah. Allow Yahuwah. Come on and have Yahuwah with me. 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 Allow Yahuwah. Allow Yahuwah. Allow Yahuwah. Allow Yahuwah. Come on and sing your song with me. 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 Allow Yahuwah. 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 Come on and Baruch Yahuwah with me. 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 Allow Yahuwah. 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 I'm chasing after you, no matter what I have to do, 'cause I need you more and more. I'm chasing after you, no matter what I have to do, 'cause I need you more and more. I'm chasing after you, no matter what I have to do, 'cause I need you more and more. I'm chasing after you, no matter what I have to do, 'cause more and more. 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 I'm chasing after you. No matter what I have to do. 'Cause I need you more and more. I'm chasing after you. No matter what I have to do. 'Cause I need you more and more. 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 I'm chasing after you. I'm praising my way through, just to be closer to you. I'm chasing after you. I'm praising my way through, just to be closer to you. I'm chasing after you. No matter what I have to do. 'Cause I need you more and more. I'm chasing after you. No matter what I have to do. 'Cause I need you more and more. I'm chasing after you. No matter what I have to do. 'Cause I need you more and more. I'm chasing after you. No matter what I have to do. 'Cause I need you more and more. 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 I'm praising my way through, just to be closer to you. I'm chasing after you. I'm praising my way through, just to be closer to you. I'm chasing after you. No matter what I have to do. 'Cause I need you more and more. I'm chasing after you. No matter what I have to do. 'Cause I need you more and more. I'm chasing after you. No matter what I have to do. 'Cause I need you more and more. Yahuwah, I thirst for you, and I long to be in your presence. My soul will wait on you. Abba, draw me nearer. Draw me nearer to the beauty of your Ruach. Yahuwah, I thirst for you, and I long to be in your presence. My soul will wait on you. Abba, draw me nearer. Draw me nearer to the beauty of your Ruach. Yahuwah, I thirst for you, and I long to be in your presence. My soul will wait on you. Abba, draw me nearer. Draw me nearer to the beauty of your Ruach. I will wait for you, oh Yahuwah, in the beauty of your Ruach. I will worship you, oh Yahuwah, in the beauty of your Ruach. I will wait for you, oh Yahuwah, in the beauty of your Ruach. I will worship you, oh Yahuwah, in the beauty of your Ruach. Yahuwah, I thirst for you, and I long to be in your presence. My soul will wait on you. Abba, draw me nearer. Draw me nearer to the beauty of your Ruach. I will wait for you, oh Yahuwah, in the beauty of your Ruach. I will worship you, oh Yahuwah, in the beauty of your Ruach. I will wait for you, oh Yahuwah, in the beauty of your Ruach. I will worship you, the beauty of your Ruah. Yahuwah, I thirst for you, and I long to be in your presence. My soul will wait on you. Abba, draw me nearer, draw me nearer to the beauty of your Ruah. Yahuwah, I thirst for you, and I long to be in your presence. My soul will wait on you. Abba, draw me nearer, draw me nearer to the beauty of your Ruah. Commemorate and to prepare for our Sabbath rest. I am truly thankful unto Abba Yahuwah for allowing us to be here one more time to celebrate once again and to commemorate a time of rest, a time that we cease from our labors so that we may come into complete covenant with Abba Yahuwah. Once again, it is a delight. Last pre-Sabbath, we were not here. We were on the land. Yes, we were still resting. But we were not in the city. But I am truly thankful to Abba Yahuwah for allowing us to be here this Yamim. And so we're going to begin with the Baruch of the Torah. Then we're going to have the 10 Commandments read. This is a time that we recite this together. So I ask that you repeat after me. Baruch Yahuwah.
Baruch Yahuwah.
The Baruch one.
The Baruch one.
Baruch is Yahuwah.
Baruch is Yahuwah.
The Baruch one.
The Baruch one.
For all eternity.
For all eternity.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Our supreme one.
Our supreme one.
King of the universe.
King of the universe.
Who selected us from all the peoples.
Who selected us from all the peoples.
And gave us his Torah.
And gave us his Torah.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Giver of the Torah.
Giver of the Torah.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Our supreme one.
Our supreme one.
King of the universe.
King of the universe.
Who gave us the Torah of truth.
Who gave us the Torah of truth.
And implanted eternal life within us.
And implanted eternal life within us.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Giver of the Torah.
Giver of the Torah.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Now we will have the reading of the 10 Commandments done by Mattathias. And it is so.
And it is so.
Aleph. I am Yahuwah, your power, which brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim from the bed of slavery. Bet you shall have no other power before me. You shall not make you any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in Shemayim above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the mind beneath the earth. You shall not bow down yourself unto them, nor serve them, for I, Yahuwah, your power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the Abbas upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that hug me and keep my commandments. Gimel, you shall not take the name of Yahuwah your power and falsify it, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless that takes his name and empties it. Dalit, guard the Sabbath day to set it apart, as Yahuwah your power has commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah your power. In it you shall not do any work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your manservant, nor your maidservant, nor your ox, nor your ass, nor any of your cattle, nor your foreigner that is within your gates, that your manservant and your maidservant may rest as well as you. And remember that you were a servant in the land of Mitzrayim, and that Yahuwah your power brought you out of there through a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Therefore Yahuwah your power commanded you to keep the Sabbath day. Hey, esteem your Abba and your image, Yahuwah your power has commanded you, that your days may be prolonged and that it may go well with you in the land which Yahuwah your power is about to give you. Why? You shall not murder. Zain, neither shall you commit adultery. Ket, neither shall you steal. Tet, neither shall you bear false witness against your neighbor. You, neither shall you desire your neighbor's issue, neither shall you covet your neighbor's bed, his field, or his manservant, or his maidservant, his ox, or his ass, or anything that is your neighbor's. These words Yahuwah spoke unto all your assembly in the mount out of the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the thick darkness with a great voice. And he added no more. And he wrote them in 2 tables of stone and delivered them unto me. And it is so.
And it is so. Devarim chapter 6, verses 1 through 18, and it reads, These are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which Yahuwah your power commanded to teach you, that you might do them in the land where you are going to enter and possess it, that you might fear Yahuwah your power to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I have commanded you, you and your son and your grandson, all the days of your life, and all of your yamim may be prolonged. Hear therefore, O Yasharal, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, that you may increase mightily as Yahuwah power of your Abbas has promised you in the land that flows with milk and honey. Shema Yasharal, Yahuwah is our Savior, Yahuwah is Akkad. Hear, O Yasharal, Yahuwah our Supreme One, Yahuwah is Akkad. And you shall ahab Yahuwah your Supreme One with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And these words which I command you this yom shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your bed, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes, to fall. To what?
To bind to the mind.
To bind to the mind. Give access, give Torah access, the commands of your Abba Yahuwah, access to your mind. And you shall write them upon the posts of your bed and on your gates. And it shall be when Yahuwah your power shall have brought you into the land which he swore to your Abbas, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Yaakov, to give you great cities which you did not build, houses full of all great things which you filled not, and wells dug which you did not dig, vineyards and olive trees which you did not plant. When you shall have eaten and be full, then beware lest you forget Yahuwah, which brought you forth out of the land of Mitzrayim, from the bed of slavery. You shall fear Yahuwah your power and serve him, and shall swear by his name. You shall not go after the power of the people which are round about you. For Yahuwah your power is a jealous power among you, lest the anger of Yahuwah your power be kindled against you, and he destroy you from off the face of the earth. You shall not tempt Yahuwah your power as you tempted him in Massah. Excuse me. You shall diligently keep the commandments of Yahuwah your power, and his testimonies and his statutes which he has commanded you. And you shall do that which is right in the sight of Yahuwah, that it may be well with you, and that you may go in and possess the great land which Yahuwah swore unto your Abbas. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Let us have another song, please. Baruch Yahuwah, oh my soul, and all that is within me. Baruch Yahuwah, oh my soul, and all that is within me. I will baruch your name. 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 Baruch Yahuwah, oh my soul, and all that is within me. Baruch Yahuwah, oh my soul, and all that is within me. I will baruch your name. 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 Baruch Yahuwah, oh my soul, and all that is within me. Baruch Yahuwah, oh my soul, and all that is within me. your name. I will Baruch your name. I will Baruch your name. I will Baruch your name. Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul, and all that is within me. Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul, and all that is within me. I will Baruch your name. 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 Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul, and all that is within me. Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul, and all that is within me. I will Baruch your name. 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 Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul, and all that is within me. Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul, and all that is within me. I will Baruch your name. 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 Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul, and all that is within me. Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul, and all that is within me. I will Baruch your name. 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 Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul, and all that is within me. Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul, and all that is within me. I will Baruch your name. 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 Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul, and all that is within me. Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul, and all that is within me. I will Baruch your name. 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 Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul, and all that is within me. Baruch Yahuwah. Oh, my soul, and all that is within me. I will Baruch your name. 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 Come on, Baruch him, Baruch him, Baruch him, praise. Come on, he's worthy, he's worthy. Allah Yahuwah, come on, Baruch him, Baruch him. Allah Yahuwah, you're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy. You're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy. You're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy. Allah Yahuwah, we appreciate him. We appreciate him for all that he's doing, all that he's done, and all that he's yet going to do within our lives and around our lives and with the people that are in our lives. We have great expectation of the album. Yes. I have great expectation of him. And so we give him praise. We give him praise. One thing about the Shabbat, it is not a time of mourning, but it is a time of celebration. It is a time that we celebrate, we commemorate, and we give him thanks because of what he's done and what he continues to do with us and through us. At this time, we're going to turn our attention to Yahush, the son of Nun. We do a lot of confessing of the word here. So you'll see and you'll find that we do a lot of confessing before we get into our main subject and topic. We want to turn our attention to, once again, the scroll of Yahush, the son of Nun. And we want to turn it to first, the first chapter. We're going to look at verses 7 and 8. We're going to read 7 and then we're going to recite verse 8. And it is so.
And it is so.
Verse 7 says, "Only be you strong and very courageous, that you may observe to do according to all the Torah which Moshe my servant commanded you. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that you may prosper wherever you go." Verse 8, as I have tailored it to fit a time of personal confession, didn't take anything out of it, but it is to make it a personal confession. Repeat with me. I will not let this scroll of the Torah,
I will not let this scroll of the Torah
depart out of my mouth,
depart out of my mouth,
but I shall meditate in it,
but I shall meditate in it,
Yom and Layla,
Yom and Layla,
that I may observe to do
that I may observe to do
according to all that is written in it.
according to all that is written in it.
For then I shall make my way prosperous
For then I shall make my way prosperous,
and act wisely.
and act wisely,
And act wisely.
and act wisely.
Now look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, you shall act wisely.
And you shall act wisely.
Look at your other neighbor and tell your other neighbor, you shall act wisely. And you shall act wisely. Take your hand and place it over your heart and say, Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
I shall act wisely.
I shall act wisely.
Come on, Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
I shall act wisely.
I shall act wisely.
I am determined
I am determined
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
I am determined
I am determined
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
Come on, make him feel it. I am determined
I am determined
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
And it is so.
And it is so.
It is a command to act wisely. We know we live in a Torah-less time and generation. And if we don't act wisely, we will find ourselves on the losing end. And we don't want to lose. We are winners.
Right.
And so every day of our lives, it is important that we strive to act wisely. There are people out there that will provoke you to not act wisely.
All right.
There are people out there that will try you.
Yes.
And they want to see whether or not you're going to hold up to your confession. And so it is important that we confess and also possess what we are confessing. And so it is important that we remember. We know that this was during the time that Yahush took office and he became the leader of Yasharal. And so it is an important time for us as a people to stand up and to be an example. To be that example and continue to be the example for our people. Continue to allow our light to shine in a time, especially as now, that we need to let the world know who we are, and also let our Mishpachah know who we are. We know who we are. We are the children of Yasharal.
Right.
And it's important that we carry that and that we remember our actions, our words, everything we do determines whether or not people are going to receive us or reject us. Now, understand what I mean by that, because you could be walking and living in truth and people will still reject you. But if they reject you, let it be because they have seen and they're just not ready, but not because we're not acting wisely. Not because we're not acting wisely, because 1 minute we're saying one thing and then the next minute we're doing another. So it's important that we be people of wisdom and choose to walk in the examples that he's given unto us in the writings. And it is so.
And it is
And it is so. Let us have one more song, please.
Ayahab Yahuwah, Ayahab Yahuwah, with the heart of thanksgiving. Ayahab Yahuwah, Ayahab Yahuwah, Ayahab Yahuwah. With the heart of thanksgiving, I have Yahuwah. I have Yahuwah. I have Yahuwah. With the heart of thanksgiving, I have Yahuwah. Baruch Yahuwah. Baruch Yahuwah. With the heart of thanksgiving, Baruch Yahuwah. Baruch Yahuwah. Baruch Yahuwah. With the heart of thanksgiving, Baruch Yahuwah. With my hands lifted up, and my mouth filled with praise. With the heart of thanksgiving, Baruch Yahuwah. With my hands lifted up, and my mouth filled with praise. With the heart of thanksgiving, Baruch Yahuwah. Baruch Yahuwah. Baruch Yahuwah. With the heart of thanksgiving, Baruch Yahuwah. With my hands lifted up, and my mouth filled with praise. With the heart of thanksgiving, Baruch Yahuwah. With my hands lifted up, and my mouth filled with praise. With the heart of thanksgiving, Baruch Yahuwah. Baruch Yahuwah. Baruch Yahuwah. With the heart of thanksgiving, Baruch Yahuwah. Baruch Yahuwah. Baruch Yahuwah. With the heart of thanksgiving, Baruch Yahuwah. Allah Yahuwah. Allah Yahuwah. With the heart of thanksgiving, Allah Yahuwah. Allah Yahuwah. Allah Yahuwah. With the heart of thanksgiving, Allah Yahuwah. With my hands lifted up, and my mouth filled with praise. With the heart of thanksgiving, Allah Yahuwah. Baruch Yahuwah. Baruch Yahuwah. With the heart of thanksgiving, Baruch Yahuwah.
You're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy. He's worthy, he's worthy.
Yes.
If we had 10,000 tongues, we still could not praise him enough, and we still couldn't give him the praise that is due him for all his great benefits that he has towards us, his people. We appreciate him for all that he's doing. Mishnah 15:8, the sacrifices of the wicked is an abomination, hateful and exceedingly offensive unto you, Abba Yahuwah, but the prayer of the upright, it is your delight. Romaiah 14:17-18, for the kingdom of Yahuwah is not meat and drink, but uprightness and shalom and joy in the Ruach HaKodesh. For he that in these things serve Yahush is acceptable to Yahuwah and approved of men. And it is so.
And it is so.
Excuse me. Yehukin and Moshe 11:24. Therefore I say unto you, what things soever you desire, when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you shall have them. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Tehillim 1:1. Baruch is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the unrighteous, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the instructions of Abba Yahuwah, and he doth meditate upon it. And it is so.
And it is so.
Abraham 11:6. But without belief it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to Yahuwah must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Tehillim 34:15. The eyes of Yahuwah are upon the upright, and his ears are open unto our cry. Verse 17, the upright cry, and Yahuwah heareth and delivereth them out of all their troubles. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Masa, Acts 1:8. But we shall receive power after that the Ruach HaKodesh has come upon us, and we shall be witnesses unto him both in Jerusalem and in all Judea and Samaria and unto the uttermost part of the earth. And it is so.
And it is so.
Ayah 33:4. The Ruach HaKodesh of Yahuwah hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty hath given me life. Somebody say he's a life giver.
He's a life giver.
Say it again. He is a life giver.
He's a life giver.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Micah 3:8. But truly I am full of power by the Ruach HaKodesh of Yahuwah, and of judgment and of might, to declare unto Yaakov his transgression, and to Yashar all his sin. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Yehukin and Aleph 4:4, all the way to verse 14. My very favorite. Very important that I always read this, and I've made it a part because it was placed in my ruach to do so, because we have so many in these end times that are giving up, and they're stopping believing in Yahush, and they're saying that there is no Mashiach, and they are truly trying to not just debunk it, but they are truly trying to fight people that are truly believing and walking in that truth. You have to understand, Yehukin face the same thing that we're facing. And this is why he gave the words of encouragement in Yehukanan Aleph 5:3. We're going to start at verse 3:3-14, to encourage us not to give up and to hold fast into our belief and believing that Yahush is the son of Abba Yahuwah, and not giving up on that, because many people have, just like the Gnostics in that time spoke against Yahush.
Yes.
They said that he was more of they said he was an angel, and that he was not flesh and blood. And so Yehukanan had a job on his hand. He had to continually keep the people encouraged, and he had to continue to remind them, if you don't be reminded of this, you will not overcome the world and its system. And so we're going to begin at verse 3. I'm going to begin at verse 3 on chapter 5. And it says, for this is the Ahab for Yahuwah, that we guard his commands, and his commands are not difficult, because everyone having been begotten of Yahuwah overcomes the world. And this is the overcoming that has overcome the world, our belief. Who is the one who overcomes the world but he who believes that Yahush is the son of Yahuwah? That's a question. And the importance of that question is, if we are not able to answer it confidently, then we will find ourselves outside of walking in this truth. Because many people have given up on Yahush. Many people have read the scriptures wrong, and they have interpreted them wrongfully. And you have many of people that have given up. I've seen it
over and over again. So it's important that we reinforce the writings in the hearts of us as believers so that we don't get caught up in that trap. We don't get caught up in that deception.
Right.
And he goes on to say, this is the one that came by water and blood. Yahushua Mashiach, not only by water, but by water and blood. And it is the Ruach who bears witness, because the Ruach is the truth. Because there are three who bear witness, the Ruach and the water and the blood, and the three are in agreement. In that time, they would say that he was only flesh and water. And they didn't believe that he was the Mashiach. So there was a lot of erroneous teaching going on in that time, just as it is today. But this is how Yehukanan had to combat it. He had to come right back with the writings, and he had to encourage us with this. And in verse 9, he says, if we receive the witness of men, the witness of Yahuwah is greater, because this is the witness of Yahuwah, which he has witnessed concerning his son. He alludes to it, and he brings it out that he has acknowledged that Yahush is his son.
That's right.
Very important that we understand that. The one who believes in the Son of Yahuwah has the witness in himself. That means we have that very same witness in us because we believe.
That's right.
But watch this. Of Yahuwah has the witness in himself. The one who does not believe Yahuwah has made him a liar. And the writings say a liar will not tarry in his presence.
Yes.
So that means if you have tried to make Yahuwah a liar because you don't believe in his son, you have automatically removed yourself out of his presence.
That's right.
Because he has not believed the witness that Yahuwah has given concerning his son. And this is the witness that Yahuwah has given us eternal life. And this life is in his son. Excuse me. He who possesses the son possesses life. He who does not possess the son of Yahuwah does not possess life. So everybody that's denying Yahush is the son of Yahuwah does not possess life.
That's right.
Does not possess life. I have written this to you who believe in the name of the Son of Yahuwah, so that you know that you possess everlasting life, and so that you believe in the name of the Son of Yahuwah. And this is the boldness that we have in him, that if we ask whatever according to his desire, he hears us. And if he hears us, whatever we ask, we know that we have the petition that we have asked of him. This is very important. Because truthfully, we should never say we lack understanding. If we lack understanding, it is because we have not asked for it. He said, I'll grant you the desires of your heart if it's what his desire. And it is his desire for us to know truth and to walk in that truth confidently, to where we are not vacillating and we are not in and out and all over the place. Because if we're all over the place, how can we truly be stable, and how can we help stabilize somebody else's life? If we're all over the place, can't do it. We have to be grounded in his word. And this is important for us as his children to remain committed and not give up, because there is going to be a great falling away. We're seeing it as I speak.
Right.
There are people, once again, that are turning away from the very gift that Yahuwah gave us, and that is his son, Yahush, our Mashiach. I don't know about you, but I'm not about to give up.
That's right. That's right.
I'm not about to give up, and I'm not about to trade out his name. I had already done that before I came into truth. Now I'm in truth. Oh no, that's going to be a fight. Ain't nowhere in the world I'm about to let that go. No. We walking in truth, and this is why he says how we overcome the world, because we have to believe. It is through our belief in the one that gives us life, and that is Yahush, so that we're able to stand. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. At this time, once again, we have what are called affirmations. And we're going to do our affirmations. And after our affirmations, we're going to go into our declaration. After our declaration, we're going to seal our praise, prayer, and worship with the writings. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. All right. Repeat with me. These are affirmations. I purpose to develop my Ruach.
I purpose to develop my Ruach.
I purpose to walk in the light of Torah.
I purpose to walk in the light of Torah.
I am Ibram.
I am Ibram.
I am born again.
I am born again.
I am Ibram.
I am Ibram.
I have the life and nature
I have the life and nature
of Yahuwah
of Yahuwah
in my Ruach.
in my Ruach.
That life is
That life is
the Torah
the Torah
of Yasharal.
of Yahshua.
I purpose
I purpose
to walk in the Torah
to walk in the Torah
of life.
of life.
Yahuwah's Torah,
Yahuwah's Torah,
Yahush,
Yahush,
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah,
Yahuwah,
knowledge,
knowledge,
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's Ahab,
Yahuwah's Ahab,
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's power,
Yahuwah's power,
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's wisdom,
Yahuwah's wisdom,
is in me.
is in me.
He is teaching me.
He is teaching me.
He is leading me.
He is leading me.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
The Ruach HaKodesh of Yahuwah
The Ruach HaKodesh of Yahuwah
in me is leading me.
in me is leading me.
I'll follow her leading.
I'll follow her leading.
I'll walk in the Torah,
I'll walk in the Torah.
Yahush,
Yahush,
our Mashiach,
our Mashiach,
and it is so.
and it is so.
Yahush is the Torah made flesh, and it is so.
And it is so.
And so if we're going to follow, we have to follow his example. We have to do what he has put in us to do. At this time, we're going to also do our declaration. Sorry, y'all. Our declaration. This is what he gave me as well as a declaration of healing for our people. Repeat with me. I'll slow down. Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
in the name of Yahush,
in the name of Yahush,
our Mashiach,
our Mashiach,
we subdue ignorance
we subdue ignorance
with Torah knowledge.
with Torah knowledge.
And through this knowledge
And through this knowledge
of Torah truth,
of Torah truth,
we claim healing,
we claim healing,
shalom,
shalom,
deliverance,
deliverance,
and salvation.
and salvation.
We decree
We decree
Torah truth
Torah truth
in the lives
in the lives
of your people,
of your people,
our people, Yasharal.
Yasharal.
We unite
We unite
not to fight,
not to fight,
not to fight
not to fight
each other,
each other,
each other,
each other,
but the enemy
but the enemy
of our belief.
of our belief.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Now, as we bow before our King, we want to say this to Tehillim 19 and 14. It is our seal, and it is what we seal our praise, our prayer, and our worship with this to Tehillim 19 and 14. As we bow together before our King, let us recite this. May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you, O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock
my rock
and my redeemer.
and my redeemer.
May the utterance
May the utterance
of my mouth
of my mouth
and
and
the deliberation
the deliberation
of my heart
of my heart
be desirable
be desirable
before you,
before you,
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock
my rock
and my redeemer.
and my redeemer.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
We have just recited Tehillim 19 and 14, and it is so.
And it is so.
You may be seated in His presence as we prepare to turn our attention. As we are starting our Torah portions over, it is, we go through it every year. We go through this weekly reading, and it is divided up into the different chapters. And so we're going to turn our attention to Bereshit, chapter 1. And our theme, as we have a theme every Shabbat, and our theme this Shabbat is in the beginning, and so we're going to look at creation. We're going to take a look at creation, and excuse me, and the way we do it, we read. I give everybody an opportunity just to read for us. And so, once again, we have gone through, we just finished, what was it, last Shabbat? We finished 46, I think it's 52 sections. We do 52 classes, and we start all over again with the same thing. But every time we find something new. There's no way you can read the writings and not see something new every time. You can go over it 100 times, and the next time the 101 time you go over it, you're gonna find something you missed when you went over the 100 times.
That's right.
So we never tire of His instructions for us, because it is our life. Without it, we wouldn't have a life. And so we're going to begin with chapter 1, and we normally, like I say, we go in a circle and everybody's able to read. We read. Because we have something like 6 chapters, we're going to try to cover 2 of these tonight. We're going to start with Layla. We're going to start at chapter 1, and we're going to read all the way to chapter 2. once again, I enjoy it to the fullest because there is so much that we're learning, especially coming into truth, being into truth. We've been in truth now for about 6 years, going on 7 years now.
Yes.
We have been in it, and it is a delight, and I am excited about what he takes us through, especially going back through the writings, because now we're reading it with a different perspective,
That's right.
with a different heart, a different mindset. When we were in Christianity, we just saw it as, well, let's hurry up and get through it. Anybody knows being in the life of Christianity, being in Christianity for something like 35 years. I became a Christian when I was 15. And I remained a Christian up into the last 6, almost 7 years. And I came into truth. So I came right out of Christianity into truth. And I always tell people, Yahuwah left me breadcrumbs. When you're in Christianity, you tend to look at certain things in a different way. You start thinking, no, I'm not grabbing that. That's witchcraft. That's the devil. What we called the devil then. Now, we embrace, because we're understanding he's not the devil, and his name is not of demonic origin. But that's what we were taught through Christianity. Christianity made us believe that if we didn't say God, which is a title, and it's a pagan title, we were out of order. And so when we began to understand his name, we began to understand we are connected to his name. Right. It gave us life and continues to give us life and continues to give us the aspirations that we need. And so as we continue to go over it, it is not a drag or a drudge, because it's important to go back over and read it again. And once again, from a different perspective, from the perspective of truth. The truth, not a truth, the truth. Because you have a lot of people that say they have a truth, but this is the truth. And so learning from the truth, we want to dig into it, even from the names, the original names and so forth. So we're going to begin, and like I said, we're going to read, give everybody an opportunity to read something like, let's do 6 verses. Give everybody a chance to read 6 verses, and then I will come back and expound as Abba Yahuwah will give me to expound on those verses as we read them. And it is so.
In the beginning, power created the Shemayim and the land. Mm-hmm. The land was desolate and chaotic, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And the Ruach of power was fluttering over the face of the Mayim. Yahuwah said, light be, and light was. And power saw the light that it was good, and that power separated the light from the darkness. Power called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So the evening and the morning were Yom Ahad. Then power said, expanse be in the middle of the Mayim, and divided the Mayim from the Mayim. And it is so.
And it is so. In the beginning, Bereshit, Yahuwah created. This is to be interpreted figuratively. Yahuwah created the world for the sake of the Torah, which is called the beginning of his way. We can also find that in Mishlei 8 and 22. And for the sake of the upright, who are described as the beginning of his increase, Jeremiah 2 and 3. Very important for us to understand that even in creation, it deals with even us. Even in creation, he was thinking about us. I think about when we look at the Torah. The Torah was already here. Mm-hmm. We were just created. Torah was already in place because the Torah resides in Shemayim. Already in Shemayim. And so we are now understanding that we are all, and we were part of the creation. And this is what it says. The preposition in the word Bereshit begins understood as for the sake of. If the text is rendering literally, the translation is in the beginning of Yahuwah's creating the Shemayim and the earth, when the spirit of Yahuwah hovered over the face of the waters. Yahuwah said, let there be light. This translation is necessary because Reshit never means the beginning, but the beginning of. And also, Yahuwah did not first create Shemayim, but earth. But the waters, as is evident from verse 2. Now, Yahuwah, the Hebrew, has the plural form or the plural of majesty. but no idea of plurality is to be read into the word because the verb created is in the singular. And so as we look at the power, El, you hear them say Elohim, which we don't really say Elohim because Elohim still is a rendering or an extension back to God. So we normally say power, Al or Al. You hear say El, which also means power. So we always refer to him as power because he is not God. And when you start looking at God, that's when you have a group or a nucleus of deities. And because we know Yahuwah stands alone, you can't put him in the same category. So to constantly say he is God is a remiss because he is not. He is above that. He is power. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
He is power. And because he is power, now watch this. Nobody can stand up against him because he stands alone.
That's right.
Does that mean that when we say Yahush is his son, that and he says in Yehukinim that they are one, that now we are making Yahush a demi-deity? No, he's his son. So anybody that understands that if you have children, your children are a part of you. Your children are an extension of you. Your children are you. Are you understanding me? But at the same time, they're not. Because if they ever do a DNA test and they say, oh, y'all know on crazy shows, and they say, well, we need to do a test because we need to see who is the true Abba. And when they do it and they come and say, you are the father. Why? Because there are certain chromosomes and there are certain things in that DNA that says that is his child. Are you following me?
Yes.
Even though it is his child, and we say, yes, that is him, we know it is not him literally,
Right.
but it is still him.
That's right.
So it's important that we understand that when we refer to Yahuwah and we say he stands alone, we are not negating the presence of Yahush. Neither are we removing his presence. And this is what a lot of times our Mishpachot does. When it says he stands alone, they tend to remove him, subtract him from the picture.
Right.
And we're not supposed to do that. Are y'all following?
Yes.
We're not supposed to do that. So as we continue to look, because he is a part of Abba Yahuwah. He is a part of him. And so it's important for us to understand that. Now, upon the face of the deep, over the water which was upon the earth, the Ruach of Yahuwah hovered. The throne of Yahuwah was suspended in the air and hovered over the face of the waters, sustained by the Ruach of Yahuwah and his command, like a dove hovering over the nest. The spirit of Yahuwah is so called because it was his servant to perform his will. The waters be dried up and the land appeared. Now his servant, who is the servant? We're also talking about Yahush, because it is Yahush that was in the beginning,
Yes.
that was fulfilling every word that came out of the mouth of Abba Yahuwah.
That's right. That's right.
Once again, because his name at that time is not revealed, does not mean he is removed out of the picture. And this is where we have to open up our Ruach and have a relationship with Yahuwah to understand just because he doesn't mention his name doesn't mean he's not there.
Oh, yes.
Because he is there. He is there operating and doing whatever the Abba has commanded.
That's right.
Light. This was a special light which functioned only during the 7 days of creation. And that's awesome. Let there be light. Not the light that sustained and stayed, but that light that helped fix and create and make things what they were. Are y'all hearing me?
Yes.
What they were, what they are, and what they are going to be. Very important. And Yahuwah saw the light, and Yahuwah divided. Now, the rabbinic interpretation is that he saw that wicked were not worthy to enjoy the light, whereupon he set it apart for the righteous in the Messianic era. The literal meaning is that he saw that it was great and it would be not filter or fitting, not be fitting for light and darkness to function simultaneously. Whereupon he divided one from the other, appointing day for the former and night for the latter. Now this comprehended, when he said comprehended light as being great, This is so important too for us to understand when we understand light and then the lesser light. Light and then the lesser light. I always like to look at it as well as this. Whenever there is a lack of illumination, that means there is a lack of what? Understanding. Because wherever there is illumination, there is understanding. The light, when it was separated, now you have to understand at that time, everything that was going on, everything that was taking place at that time, when Yahuwah was creating everything, setting things in order, because things needed to be put in order, because he was getting ready to create something great.
That's right.
And he was getting ready to place it in a special place. So everything had to be in line. Everything had to be in sync. And because Yahuwah never sees anything at the beginning, he always sees it at the end.
That's right.
He always sees it at the end. He already knows what's going to happen.
Right.
It's just for us to believe that we win at the end in spite of what we already see. Because if he judged everything by the beginning, you and I wouldn't be here today.
That's right.
He would have destroyed us. You know why? Because he just all the stuff we were doing, he would have said, no, I don't see in the end. But you have to remember, his sight goes far beyond ours.
Right.
What people told us, well, we ain't gonna be nothing, you ain't gonna never have nothing, you're gonna be this, you're gonna be that, and your life is gonna be this, that, and the other. But Yahuwah saw something different.
Yes.
He saw something different. And so that's why I'm thankful that he doesn't see things from the beginning. Does that mean he's blinded from what started? Absolutely not. But he judges it from the end. Because when he sees things totally different than what we see them.
Right.
Yes. Very important for us to understand that. Evening, Arab, morning, Boker. Arab from Arab to mingle is so called because the qualities of day and night are mingled therein. The evening beginning neither day nor night. Boker from Boker to research or to search, examine. And the reverse of Arab being the time when it is possible to distinguish the exact quality which characterizes it, daylight. You know, when at times you start seeing it, what is it like in the morning, and you start seeing the daylight come in, and then at night what they call the dusk time, where you see the light and you see where it's about to turn too dark. That's still, you're able to see, you're still able to recognize different things going on. All these things, he separated.
Right.
He gave it a certain time and a certain place and put it so that we would be able to experience his beauty, experience him in everything in creation.
Right.
Everything is for a purpose. Everything, even when you see the, especially during the summer months, when you see the sun setting, the horizon, and how gorgeous it is, and how you see different things at different seasons. He's allowing us to experience everything he did through the elements. Everything. He's allowing us to see it. And so I am truly thankful for him allowing us to see that. Now, one day, scripture does not use the phrase the first day as it does the second, third, etc. The meaning is the day of the one. That is, on this Yom, he was alone. The angels not being created until the second day. Not meaning that he had no government, but at that time he had not finished doing what he was doing, or he had not started that part. Everything Abba Yahuwah does, he does it in a system. He is, I like to use it in this way, he is the greatest business man, just using that as an example, that we know. When it comes down to order and it comes down to organizing and doing, he is the greatest. There's none above him. None, because you notice even when things seem like they're getting out of order, order always snaps back in place. No matter what, order always snaps back in place because everything is set in motion and everything is on a time frame. Everything is on a time frame. When light comes, when day comes, when the Layla comes, and when the Yom comes, everything is on a time. Everything is on a time. And so, once again, he's allowed us to experience his Yapa, his beauty. He's allowed us to experience it. But the only way we can really experience it and enjoy it is that we have to know who he is.
Right. Yes. Right.
We have to know who he is, because if not, we won't know. Because how can you enjoy or experience something or somebody when you don't have a relationship with them? It wasn't just created just to be created. He created it so he could share it with us.
Oh, yes.
But how can we get the full benefits if we just think, okay, we just live on the earth, we're just here? No, we're not just here. We're here for a purpose, and that is to obey his instructions. Because if you notice, everything in creation obeys Yahuwah.
That's right.
That's right.
Everything, the birds, the water, everything. Don't ever think for one moment that the government has everything under their fingers.
That's right.
They don't. Because if you notice, when they try to see the clouds and make it rain, it don't rain until Yahuwah says so.
That's right.
It don't rain until he says so. They want to manipulate. But you have to understand, everything obeys Abba Yahuwah.
That's right.
He allows things to come through because he wants to see what we're going to do. Are we going to react? Or are we going to respond? Because he has everything in the palm of his hand.
Right.
And he's allowed us to experience it. And we constantly experience it. Yahuwah made the firmament. He set it in position. Very important. He set it in position, just like he sets us in position. Creation. Creation, once again, we are not outside of creation. Creation is the greatest story because we are a part of it. And when we read it, we ought to see that when he was creating and doing everything, guess what? He had us in
Oh,
mind.
yes. That's right. That's right.
He had us in mind.
Yes.
He had us in mind. That's why he did what he did. Let's finish reading.
And y'all made the expansions and separated the waters from the expansions from the waters that was above the expansions. And it was so. Yah called the expansions heaven, and there was evening, and there was morning the second day. And Yah said that the waters under the heavens be gathered together in one place, and that the dry land appear, and it was so. And Yah called the dry land earth, and the waters that was gathered together he called seas. And Yah saw that it was good. And Yah said that the earth sprout vegetables, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees bearing fruit, in which is in their seed, each according to his kind on the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth vegetables, plants yielding seed according to their own kind, and trees bearing fruit, in which is in their seed, each according to his kind. And Yah saw that it was good, and there was evening, and there was morning the third day.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Now let's look at verse 7 again. Something very that I like that they brought out. And Yahuwah made the firmament. He set in position above the firmament, not on, but above, because the water was above the firmament, suspended in mid-air. Scripture does not add that it was great, because creation in respect of water, that it should gather and become seed, was not completed until the following day, or the following yom. An incomplete work is not described as great or good.
Mm-hmm.
So until he finished it, he could not put his seal of approval on it. Until he finishes us, his seal of approval is on us. But he can't say we're great until he has finished with us.
Right. Right.
Reason we use the term great, because a lot of terms we don't use good, because good also is a rendering of God. And so it just means God. So we don't use good. You hear us say great in the place of good.
Right.
And so it's important that we understand that we can't be great until we allow him to finish his work in our lives. Once again, creation is the ideal example of his hand, creating, crafting, molding, and making. And so when we see what he did in creation, and then look at our own lives, once again, we can see how he did with us and continues to do with us.
That's right.
So we can't get discouraged because right now we may not feel like, well, I haven't heard, that I'm great. Well, until he finishes with us, he cannot put that on us yet. So we just need to maintain be encouraged and continue to do and stay in position so he can continue to develop us and grow us so that we can be all that he's calling us to be.
Oh, yes.
We got to stay on that potter's wheel and don't get off of it. And it is so.
And it is so.
This should be connected with the next verse. When Yahuwah called the firmament Shemayim, it happened immediately after Yahuwah commanded it. So this was everything that was going on was going. There were some things that was rapid, and then there were some things that took time. But when he said let that be, it was done.
Oh, yes.
It was done. And so once again, we're getting a taste and we're seeing Abba Yahuwah and we're seeing the things that he's doing. And once again, when you look at the creation story, think about yourself. Think about the time he has put in to create us. Think about the time that he has put in to make sure that we are all that he has called us to be.
That's right.
And very important for us to understand that. All right, let's finish reading.
And Yah said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heavens to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And Yah made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And Yah said, set them in the firmament of the heavens to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And Yah saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day.
Yes, read 7. Did you read 7 for me?
And Yah said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creatures that has life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And Yah created great whales, and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And Yah saw that it was good. And Yah blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth. And the evening and the morning were the fifth day.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Now we look once again at the things that are taking place. I thought this was to divide the day or the yom from the layla. This would be only after the primeval light created by the first yom was concealed by Yahuwah. But during the first 6 days, the primeval light and darkness both function by day and night. For signs and for seasons, they serve as signs, because when they are eclipsed, it is an evil omen for the world. That's kind of something to think about when we have an eclipse. When it cuts the light, and for that time, it's dark. What was it this year when there was an eclipse? And we were outside, and it really got pitch black out there. It really got dark for about a day. That time we were out there because everybody was running. We were trying to see if we could catch it. And if y'all notice, everything in creation got quiet. The birds stopped chirping. The crickets stopped chirping. Everything stopped moving, as to say for that time really did stand still. And I looked and I said, I wonder why. And I questioned that, but now I understand, because to clip the sun or clip the light is not anything to rejoice about. Because for that moment, we are without light. We are, for that time frame, we are basically denied the sunlight. And nothing can happen because it's an eclipse. That's when the two are one. And people, were doing whatever they were doing, and we were out there, and I was like, boy, this is something, for it to be this dark out here. Right. And at that time, they said, that when wicked comes about at night, excuse me, or at Layla. And so while we were out there, you could hear the sirens, you could hear the cars, and you can hear things. But one thing that I always listen for is, what is creation doing? And for that moment of time, everything was quiet. Mm-hmm. Everything, because it's almost like there's nothing for us to do but wait. Because what can we do? We have just been put on pause. Because that which was given for us for light has been taken away from us, even if it is just for a second or a moment. Just for that little bit of time. And that makes me really start really thinking for a second or time of our lives, you don't even want it to be taken out. You don't want to miss the presence of Abba Yahuwah for not a second, a moment, a minute. You don't want to miss it at all, because guess what? That means you are without his presence.
Right. Yes.
And we don't want to be absent or be without his presence in our lives. So like I said, when you start looking at eclipses are not a great thing, because they keep it causes us to be absent without the sunlight. It causes us to not have the sunlight for that little bit of time. And in that little bit of time, there is so much that can transpire in them seconds, in those minutes. So much that can transpire. That's why it's important that we don't have not even a speck of darkness in us. Because remember, a little leaven, what? Leavens the whole lump. So if you got a little bit of darkness in you, that little bit of darkness will do what? Spread, and the next thing you know, you're full of darkness. So it's important that we look at that, but I thought that was real interesting. Like I said, it is not, but you know how the world does. They make it a party. They make it a celebration. It's time to celebrate. We don't have the sun. That sounds crazy now that when you put it in perspective. They party at this time. They throw big bashes during this time. They spend thousands of dollars for that tiny little bit of time to be without light. But that tiny little bit of time to be without light for us should seem like an eternity.
Yes.
Because now for that little bit of time, we were denied access to the sun, which gives us light and heat. That's nothing to rejoice over. That's actually, that time right there is a time for us to be really crying out saying, no, we don't want to see this. But once again, when we don't understand a thing, we tend to just kind of, go with the flow. But being without the sun is not a great thing at all, because it gives us light and it shows us. Anybody ever seen the movie Matrix? I'm sure everybody's seen Matrix, the trilogies. But if you notice, that was the number one thing that kept them, is because beyond the clouds was where the sun was. But because the sun was blocking, it was horrible. And guess what? They had to live. They had to live in a matrix because they could not live outside of it. Because of the condition of what? The world. Because of the world. We don't want to live outside of truth. Are y'all following? We want to stay in truth because of the conditions of the world. And not just because of the conditions of the world, but because it's our way of life. But we ought to be provoked to stay in it because of the conditions of this world. And it is so. And it is so. They were originally created, talking about the two great lights, equal in size, but the moon, this is what this says, and I like to read these because I like to put it out there. Diminished because it complained that it was not practical that two kings should have the same crown. That is, it demanded greater power than the sun. And these are the remarks. And like I said, I like to read these and bring them out because a lot of times this is what many people believe. And this is what many people follow. And they believe that there was a war. You have, in the Wiccan religion, that they believe that the sun and the moon marry and they bring forth during a certain amount of time. We look at during the season, the equinox, and we look at the changing of the seasons. And you see when the springtime, when things are born, and so they say it marries and brings forth. So you always have those myths, and you always have different things that are out there. And sometimes people tend to take that as truth, and they do. They tend to take it as truth, and they begin to worship the sun, the moon, and if you know people in Kemet, that they do. They believe that each element has a ruach behind it, and they believe that it has a power. I believe the sun is to do what it does, give us light. Also give us energy.
That's right.
Nothing more. Because we are powered by the sun. Our melanin is powered by the sun.
That's right.
So we understand that, but we don't go and start worshiping the sun. It's once again, it is what it is, a power source.
That's right.
And that's all. And we don't worship the sun. But you have people that give them, basically deify them and give them names and so forth and so on. We don't do that because we don't want to get into what? Idol worship.
That's right.
Because that opens the door to idol worship. So we want to stay away from that. But once again, you have to understand, Yahuwah created everything for a purpose, and we are to benefit from everything in creation, but we are never to worship it. Never. Get the benefits, keep on moving.
There you go.
Like when you go to the ATM, get your money, keep it moving. You don't stick around, you keep it going. Excuse me. Therefore, you don't have to worry about no problems. And it is so. All right, let's finish reading.
And Yah said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after its kind, cattle and the creeping thing, the beasts of the earth after its kind, and it was so. And Yah made the beasts of the earth after its kind, and the cattle after its kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after its kind. And Yah saw that it was good. And Yah said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish, over the sea, and over the fowl of the earth, over the fowl of the air, over all the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So Yah created man in his own image. In the image of Yah created he him, male and female created he them. And Yah blessed them. And Yah said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. And Yah said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon all the earth, and every tree, in the which is the fruit of the tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat, and to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life. I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. And Yah saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very great. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day.
And it is so.
It is so.
And it is so. Now, if you notice in this, when he created them, he gave them dominion.
Yes.
He gave them dominion. There was no, and I know I'm gonna make a few people mad, and it's all right. You know, I'm in it to win it. I'm gonna do what you tell me to do. There was no, well, it's just the man thing. I'm gonna do this. He said, you subdue. He gave them dominion. That meant they were both to have dominion. That was given to both, not just one. That's why it's important that we be of like-minded, and we are with people of like-minded belief. Are you following me?
Yes.
Because in order to have dominion, you got to know who's behind you and who's in front of you. And that begins with Yahuwah. He told them to be fruitful and multiply. And then from being fruitful and multiply, have dominion. He didn't say be fruitful and multiply, and then woman, you go away, and then man, you do. He's continually this same sentence and this same line of conversation throughout the whole time. He never says, now woman, you go and you be quiet. That's man-made doctrine. That's man-made doctrine. And that is why our people are so divided. It takes two to have dominion.
Oh, yes.
Yes, it does. It takes two. Because you got to know, you got to have some balance there. Balance has got to be there. When there is, no balance, and when it's just one person, or you have two people, and having those two people, only one is walking in truth, there's an imbalance. There's an imbalance. Because when one wants to obey Yahuwah and take dominion meaning take back my life, take back my inheritance, take back everything that was taken from me. The other says, no, but we have everything we need. No, we don't. You have to understand, he gave us this earth. We know our ancestors and forefathers lost it because of disobedience and because of them following under idolatry and doing everything else. And this is why our ancestors fell into the situation they fell into. But we are not our ancestors.
That's right.
We have been given a new start. We have been given a chance to do what is right.
Yes.
So where do we begin? We begin in taking dominion over what is ours. First of all, our lives.
That's right.
You got to recover who you are. Recovery, restoration, revival is what he gave me when I first started walking in truth. Recovery of our identity, recovery of ourselves. Then from being recovered, you're able to be restored. You can't restore something to somebody until they understand they have been lost or what they had was taken from them. Then once the recovery is in place, we're strong enough to be revived.
Yes.
If you ever seen them put the defibrillators on people, they have to first wait to make sure their bodies are stable
Yes.
enough to receive that jolt or that bolt of electricity going through their bodies.
That's right. That's right.
Because if not, instead of it bringing them to life, it could kill them.
Yes.
So they have to first say, we got to stabilize the body. We got to get the body so we're able to give them life or bring life back into them. This is why it is important that we understand the enemy's first job was to destroy us as a mishpachot. If he has us as Isha and Ish bickering and fussing, we can't, number one, produce and be fruitful and multiply. And you can't take dominion, because you know why? Because you're trying to have dominion over each other. And that's one thing he never said, gave to the man or the woman, have dominion over each other.
That's right.
He never said that. Show me in the beginning where he said, man have dominion over the woman and woman have dominion over the man. He didn't. He said, have dominion. Meaning he was talking to them. The conversation never stopped. He was showing them, I've given this to you for you to bring your children in and y'all to take dominion over it and to have it. See, that's the first part of restoration and recovery. First of all, recovering our relationship with each other. For those of us that are married and for those that desire to be married, first of all, you got to understand you need to be restored. Or recover. Once you recover your identity, then you understand your next mission is to have dominion over everything else, not your spouse. Isha, they want to talk to everybody's Isha and try to put them in line.
Come on with it.
You want to try to silence every woman. Nowhere does it say you have that right. And then they misconstrued the writings of Rabbi Shaul, which contrary to popular belief, I Yahab Rabbi Shaul. I do. See, because they say his writings were difficult. No, his writings were not difficult. His writings were on point. And the reason why many times we miss it is because we're trying to read his information here, and we need to be up here to understand what he was talking about, because he was talking from the perspective of understanding Yahuwah through Yahush. That's just like trying to go into a class that teaches geometry and you still in first grade work. It won't happen because you're trying to use that to try to interpret, and it won't work. So they get mad and they say, well, Rabbi Shaul was a traitor. No, he wasn't. Read his writings. And then you have to remember, it was Marcion that went in and took some of the writings of Rabbi Shaul and he rewrote them and then put them back into circulation. So when you got people that are falsifying information and you don't know the voice, you're going to miss it.
That's right.
One thing about coming into truth, you have to learn the voice of Yahuwah through his writings.
That's right.
And when you learn his voice, you will know when somebody else has inserted something in there that does not belong. It's just like when you have a relationship with your Ima, your Papa, or your Isha, or your Ish, or somebody that's close to you. If you ever watch the 48 Hours or the Criminal Minds, different shows like that, and you hear them say, well, Debbie would never do that. Why? Because that's not her handwriting. Those are not her words. That may look like her handwriting, but those are not her words. I know her better than that. And you have to understand, Rabbi Shaul had a aha for Yahuwah that was out of this world. That was out of this world. So he would not betray the very one that brought him out of the situation he was in. But you have to understand, he wrote most of the renewed covenant. So of course, if they're going to come at somebody, they're going to come at him because of his position and his stance. You know how many people that he went and basically killed? He had to turn right around and win more people. So his work, he had to suffer. But he was willing to do it so that he could bring people into truth. So you have to understand, the enemy is going to attack the one that has the greatest influence. So what better way than to taint his writings, and what they couldn't taint, they misconstrued what he was saying out of his mouth.
That's right.
Because even Rabbi Kifa said that his writings are hard to interpret. But once again, you have to understand, it's not hard, it's challenging. Why? Because in order to understand what he's saying, you got to be in Yahuwah.
That's right.
That's right.
You got to be in him. If you're not in him, it makes it seem like he's contradicting himself.
Yes.
But he's writing and he's getting the people in place. He's writing letters to congregations of people that are acting up. And then we try to take that same writing and put it into our time and say this goes for everybody when it does not. It doesn't. You have to understand, I believe with all my heart, there are those that he has raised up in this disposition to bring order. If a letter comes to our house saying, Abba Yahuwah said, then you would look at him or her saying, okay, this is a letter for this house. That letter does not go anywhere but to this house right here.
That's it.
We don't try to apply it to anybody else. But once again, when you have people that are novices and babies, and when you have people that are telling them just because you are of the male persuasion, you are now qualified to teach. It's just like telling a baby, 5 years old, because they can talk, not relate, but they can convey their words. It's time for you to get out there and get a job. You eating too much. You can talk to me. You know how to answer me. You know how to hold a conversation with me. Now it's time for you to get out there. No, they just understand because they are developing.
That's right.
That's right.
That's the same way with a lot of people. They jump and they do this. But nowhere in the creation story did Yahuwah ever give the man or the woman the authority to usurp or to have dominion over. Nowhere. And this has been the lie that has crippled and has almost destroyed us as a people. And this is why you have people so divided. Well, a woman need to be quiet. First of all, you need to research who he was talking to and why he said what he said. That's important. But the foundation to having dominion is unity.
That's right.
Because if we don't teach our children how to have dominion, guess what? Somebody else will teach them. It's not the dominion you want them to have.
That's right.
And that is the truth. But nowhere, he said, be fruitful and multiply. So why? So if you're fruitful and multiplying and filling the earth, guess what? They're supposed to have dominion. You have dominion. That means there's no room for anything else to come in and try to take us over. Because we have dominion. Because what? We're taking up the slack.
Right.
That's important for us to understand. Recovery, restoration, revival. And it begins with our relationships. We see it in the story. Everything that was created after what? Its own kind. But if you're producing stuff that's not pure, guess what? It's just gonna keep on doing. I learned something about the body. The body regenerates blood, it regenerates itself, it regenerates. But I learned this from a brother. He said, but it depends on how healthy whatever is being regenerated is being regenerated. Because if the blood is not healthy, it's just going to keep regenerating what? Bad blood.
Right.
If the cells are not healthy, it's just going to continue to regenerate unhealthy cells. So we got to make or bring about that which is going to help it be healthy. Eating right, eating vegetables, eating clean meat. We eat clean meat. Are you hearing me? We go according to the kosher diet. We equal chapter 11, where he gives us an outline and shows us what's clean and what is not. And so with that, we understand there has to be a balance. But he says have dominion. Then he told everything else to bring forth after your own kind. You have to understand the enemy knew if I break this cycle and I cause it to be corrupted, then all that's going to be produced is what? Corruption. Because if you come together, whatever you bring forth, that's what's going to come out of it. And if we both going left, guess what? Our children don't go left. They're not going to go right. They're going to continue to go left. But if we're going right and going down that path, they have no other choice. Why? Because it's in them. It's in them. It gets in them. And see, this is where now we are learning. And guess what? We are reclaiming what is ours.
That's right.
We're reclaiming this way of life. Now understand, because we're coming into this way of life, we do have a past. Some of us pasts are different than others. You know, I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Or your phone. So now we're learning how to recapture or get what is ours from where we are.
That's right.
We don't have to go all the way back to our past. We start from where we are now with recovery.
Yes.
Recovering who we are, so that we can begin from point A and move forward. We see this in creation. That's why he said, let everything reproduce and bring after its own kind.
That's right.
Because at that time, everything was right. This is why we have to get right, so we don't keep producing the same stuff that's not right.
That's right.
Especially when we know when we're walking in truth.
Yeah.
Are y'all following?
Yes.
Very important for us to walk in truth and accept what he's given unto us. Even the creeping things. And because it's a creeping thing doesn't mean it's an abominable thing.
That's right.
You have to understand, a lot of things came after splicing. That's why the flood came about. All that genetically modified stuff didn't just start now. It was even before the flood. Splicing and dicing and creating new breeds of animals, hybrids. So that stuff was already going on. That's why Yahuwah had to wash the earth, because they had started basically creating hybrids.
That's right.
Hybrid animals, hybrid plants. That's how come you have it now. We have different plants that you can get. I'm talking about, you think about the tomatoes. There's how many forms of tomatoes? Many breeds of tomatoes. Tiny, big, and from what I've learned reading in the alkaline books, they say the original are the smallest ones. Yeah, big is not always great. But they say they started from the small ones, and what they did, they started messing with them, making them bigger. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
But they say the original tomato is the small cherry tomato. That's almost sound logical, doesn't it? Because they're always trying to get what, think about it, supersize it.
Always be.
Yeah.
Always big. They think bigger is better, supersize it. No. And they said the cherry tomatoes are much better for you. But you have the beef tomatoes, some light tomatoes, but you have the big ones. But once again, they were doing all these things. Think about it. Rice is black, not white. It's bleached. So these things were already going on, trying to make what? More. So if you're trying to make more, that means you have to go in and modify this, modify that, and do this, do that. These things were already going on, and it's going on now. That's why we have to get back to the way of what? Nature. Get back to that way. Grow our food, raise our food. And if we can't grow and raise it, connect with somebody that does and support them.
That's right.
So we can make sure the stuff that we're having is straight and we won't have to worry about nothing, in it. Because he never said, get a veteran and bring them out and give the animal shots. They didn't have to take shots for sicknesses. He told them eat. Eat what? Eat the plants.
That's right.
Eat the herbs. And that's what we're turning back to, eating our herbs, drinking our herbs, because that's what's going to align our bodies so that our bodies will be healthier. And one thing about it, when you start drinking them herbs and you start using herbs, you start seeing a difference, a major difference in your body.
That's right. That's right.
You start feeling when there's something foreign there. You start seeing a whole lot of stuff. So everything he gave us was to help us and to keep us moving and to keep us healthy. Even the animals, to keep everything healthy. And so that's why we have to recover that. Because if we don't recover that, then once again, you can't be restored, or restoration can't take place. Because if you're not strong enough for the revival, you won't make it.
That's right.
Recovery, restoration, revival. To revive somebody means that is something that's going to take a lot of strength and energy to revive somebody. Because you know the reason you revive somebody is because they're what? Dead or out or knocked out. Right. Even smelling salts when you bring somebody back to life, and if you back to life or bring them back conscious, if you've ever had that stuff up in your nose, boy, it's like a horse can kick you in the head. That stuff is strong if you've ever had it in your nose before. And I've had it before. I've had somebody break, that's when out there doing stupid stuff. But just up there sniffing and just being silly, let's see what it'll do. Boy, that's make you feel like a horse that kicked you in the back of the head somewhere, because that stuff goes straight in your nose and look like it kind of hits you back there. But it's very potent. So we have to, because if not, like I say, we won't be able to take it. So we're in this time. But when you look once again at the story of creation, we see everything that Abba Yahuwah was doing at that time. We see it now, fast forward. If you understand what I mean. We're looking back in retrospect, but we can see now how Yahuwah saw it. When he was creating everything. And he said, it's great. It's great. He never said anything from what he saw.
Yes.
Because he already knew it's going to be back to this same way when it's all said and done. It's going to be back. So it's important that we hold on and not let go. And let the creation story encourage us. Now, this is what he says. He says, bear fruit and increase and fill the areas and subdue it and rule over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, verse 28, and over all creatures moving on the areas. Everything that moves, he said, we ought to have dominion. To show you things are out of whack. Does anybody know anything about when animals attack? Because the animals are not under, they're not under dominion. Mm-hmm. But y'all, let me tell y'all something. We got people in our culture that swim with crocodiles.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. See, because you got to understand, the way they take dominion is through abuse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We take it because it is something in us that Yahuwah put in us to have dominion.
Yes.
It's like this brother that's over there in Africa when it comes to, what is that, the rhino? The rhinoceros. Rhinoceros attack any and everybody. But he can stand flat-footed there, move out the way, and it won't even bother him, go right by him. So you got to understand, it's in us to have dominion.
That's right.
It's given to us to have dominion.
That's right.
This brother swims with crocodiles. I'm talking about one about 8 or 9 feet long, and I'm looking at the mouth, and I'm like, there is no way. But he swims, and there's no problem. Oh, brother, us. He ain't wearing them on his feet. He ain't got a belt. He has dominion, and it's in the way, and it's just so amazing because it's like he's fearless. He's just out there and he's swimming with them, and he talks and he looks at it in the face, and then he turns. They tell you don't ever stare at an animal because you don't want to challenge the animal. There's a difference when you look at a person's eyes and you're looking at them and you're challenging them.
That's right.
Anybody know anything about, when I say street, there's certain things you didn't do when you walked up on certain people. You didn't challenge them with your eyes. Because if you did, you knew there was going to be a brawl. Why? Because you challenged them with your eyes. There's a way to look at a person without challenging them. Respect, exactly. I'm looking at you, respect. Yeah? No. So these are things, once again, that we see because it's real. It's real. And we're seeing it today. But when you look at when animals attack, truthfully, you never hardly see us in there.
Mhm.
You don't see us in there. You don't see us in there. Why? Because one thing we have understood, we learn to respect animals. You know, you find those that fight dogs and do stuff of that nature. But then you have those of us that understand you're not human, but at the same time, I'm not going to do anything ignorant to you. Are you following me? We don't put faces on the animals, but we respect them for what they are, animals.
That's right.
And you keep it going. He said, because you are to have dominion. They couldn't have dominion over the animals if they were afraid of them and didn't know how to deal with them.
That's right.
And watch this, they didn't domesticate them. They knew how to have dominion. They knew how to respect them in their position as an animal.
That's right.
You know, we domesticate animals and stuff. Dogs. I'm a dog fan. But this is what they did. And they weren't abusive. So once again, we see our abilities. But once again, until we reconnect to Yahuwah, that's just one thing. But think about when everything is under our dominion. Under our domain. Because we have submitted ourselves to him and he's given us this authority. That doesn't mean now we go off and just be reckless. Absolutely not. Because he's not awakening us just to be awakened.
That's right.
Yes.
Because you know the writings tell us that the earth is groaning and moaning and travailing for what? The true sons to be what? Revealed.
Yes.
That means how can we be revealed, and meaning sonship and not male? How can we be revealed and how can we be shown by the world that we are the true people? There are certain things that come with the territory of this life.
Yes.
Everything in creation has to understand and has to respect us as the children of power.
That's right.
Because we have the DNA of the animal.
That's right.
It's the truth.
That's right.
It is the truth. How do you think Elijah was fed by the ravens? He had dominion. He had respect. We have to understand that same thing we can possess. And so it's important that we understand, don't use it for just to be doing stuff. It comes with the territory of recovery.
That's right.
Because when we're being recovered, we have to be recovered from something and put back in our original place.
That's right.
To recover something or restore something means you have to put it back to the place it was taken from.
That's right.
And that's a place, are you hearing me, until we get home.
Yes.
And we can have that right here in this strange land.
Mm-hmm.
I am fully persuaded we can have that in this land. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
We can have it. We can have it right here in the land that we're living in. We don't have to wait. How do you think we'll be able to help one another? How do you think we'll be able to truly be able to have and be able to help other people if we don't have it?
That's right.
We can't do it. Can't do it. So there's a level of recovery that people are going to see before we move and we transition. And that is the truth.
That's right.
Because they have to be able to recognize us. Do they recognize us by the feast? Absolutely. But you have to understand, there are a lot of people celebrating feasts.
That's right.
You have a lot of people, when you think about, if you've ever heard of the Hebrew movement roots, which are the Caucasian people, they do it. So if they're doing what we do and wearing seats and keeping the feast and the Shabbat, then people say, well, that's all of them. No. He didn't give dominion to them. He gave it to us.
That's right.
So there's something that has to distinguish us from them.
That's right.
And that's going to be the thing. And so that's important for us to understand and to continue to move on. And if you notice too, in creation story, he said he made them. It didn't say he made him and 5 or 6 other wives. He did not. And contrary to popular belief, I know a lot of people believe in polygamy. I do not. Because show me in the beginning where Yahuwah created him and then 3 or 4 other wives. He did not. He didn't. He said, you be fruitful and multiply. He knows how many children were going to come out of her womb. Then he knew how many children were going to come out of the wombs of their children.
That's right.
But he did not say in the creation story, you and your 4 or 5 wives be fruitful and multiply and have dominion. He never said it. That is the tradition of men.
That's right.
And the tradition of men make the Torah of none effect. Because it's tainted. It's tainted. You never water down certain things. If you put water in it, it loses its what? Potency.
That's right.
So you never put water in it. And when you have people that promote this, you have to understand something. There are enough single men and there are enough single women for each Ak and a Cody to come together and create a nation.
That's right.
It's enough. We ain't giving up on our Ak in jail because you got a lot of the Cody in jail too.
That's right.
So you have a balance. So we want to make sure when they come out, they have somebody to come out too.
There you go.
But if you got one person thinking that, I got to have, and then they call the names, and you have to understand, even when they talk about Dawood and they talk about Suleiman, if you read and you see Suleiman fell into a lot of trouble behind all them women.
That's right.
And then you have to understand something. All of those he did not choose. Some of those he inherited. Because whenever you are the king in line, you inherit what the other king had. So he inherited a whole lot of concubines and wives. And people think that's something. No, that's not. Because I'm sure if you could go back and talk to him right now, he probably would say 1. Because truthfully, when it's all said and done, he ended up running himself ragged and he ended up falling out of covenant with Yahuwah.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Because those women caused him to start worshiping idols.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to understand balance. Balance is very important. And everything in creation, he said, now you go create. You go and bring forth. That meant everything had a mate.
That's right.
Everything. So when Yahuwah gave the command, that was what was to be done. Now listen what he said. And power saw all that he had made, and see, it was very great. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, the 6th Yom, which is the day of preparation before the rest. Before the rest. He had finished everything. Now it's time to take the rest. After we've done all throughout the Yomim, we didn't pay bills, we didn't have to tussle with folk verbally, and you don't get out of context with folk. Hopefully ain't nobody had to lay no hands on nobody. But you didn't go throughout the week and you done done everything. You didn't set your stuff up. Now when you get to the 6th day, the 6th day is the day that we start calming and cooling down. Because everything now is at a point to where it's great. Whether it is finished or still needs work, it is finalized. Because this is the day of preparation. This is the day that we go into a time to rest. Rest from our labors. Rest from mental work. One of the things that we all have to learn to do. Mental. When we first came into it, that's one of the number one things, like no work, no work. Stop mind, stop. No work, no work. Because even if you're not physically working, you can still mentally work.
That's right.
Your mind be going miles, and that's still work. Because guess what? You're still exerting what? Energy. You're still exerting energy. Anytime in your mind you say, $1,000, oh my God, that, well, I gotta go get that done. I gotta go talk to so and so. You're working. You're working. So no work. We don't work. We just read and we laugh.
Yeah.
We try to make sure we play games. We try to make sure we do that, but we do not work. because it is a time of absolutely no work. You don't buy, you don't sell,
Mhm.
everything shuts down
That's right.
to obey Abba Yahuwah. Because we don't want to get into trouble. Are y'all following? Daily preparation. And so he showed us through creation. He did it, and so can we.
That's right.
That's right.
He did it. We should never be anxious to do anything. Never ever be so anxious to do something that it has you doing something that you know is going to cause you to go contrary to what Yahuwah has said. At the beginning of the week, the first day, we ought to already know by the sixth day, if it's not done, it won't get done.
That's right.
That's right.
It just will not get done. We will leave it as it is, and we will just go ahead on and come the first day, second day, it'll get done, and whatever is all tangled up, we just have to untangle it. But it's better to obey Abba Yahuwah
That's right.
than to go in and do something what he has told us not to do. Now understand, when you come to the truth, that's something you have to basically teach your body.
That's right.
Teach yourself to do, especially when you are a person that works consistently.
Yes.
And we were people, we were out on Shabbat, we was in the street, we was in the mall, we was buying, we was selling, we was doing all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Are you following me? So now when you have to be still, that's one of the things you gotta teach yourself to do.
Yes.
Teach your mind to be still and quiet.
Yes.
And that's why we have class. And we read and we absorb the Torah and we praise. Because we set in the atmosphere in here to walk in complete and total obedience.
That's right. That's right.
Because sometimes throughout the Yamim, you do have some of them days. Some of those very, very challenging days. And you need something to prepare you to go into the Sabbath. Praise, worship. And remember, he said, if we keep our mind stayed on him, he will keep us in what? Perfect peace. Or perfect shalom. And that's what we strive for. And in striving to do so, once again, we look, he was able to do it, and he gives us that same ability to make it happen. And so it's important that we do so. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so very important that we do so. All right, we're gonna stop here, and we're gonna pick up in the morning in our Shabbat class. In the morning, 11:45. I do 2 on the 6th day, and then on Shabbat we jump in and we go full force, reading, studying, and going into the writings. Once again, we're dealing with creation in the beginning, as he has shown us. And once again, I believe it's very important for us as the people to constantly go back over Torah, go back over everything that he's given unto us from the very from creation story all the way to the Biddim, where Moshe ends it and gives it to Yahush, the son of Nun. Very important for us too with the Haftarah portions, the Nevi'im portions, and the Hadashah portions. Why is it important? Because we need the fullness of everything that he's given unto us. And so it's important that we go back. And this is what we do. We go back and we take it verse by verse. It can become lengthy at times. And I tell people, if you're going to ride with me, you got to ride with me. You're going to ride or die. And we're going to ride this thing because I'm a long hauler. I believe when you get started in it, you need to finish it. Because it finishes, we have to finish the complete thought.
That's right.
And that's why we get up and we get in and we're ready, because you have to finish what he says. And sometimes the chapters can be 20 verses long. Sometimes they can be 30. And sometimes we have 4 or 5. But the bottom line is, when it's all said and done, I tell people this: when you were in college or whatever and you had lectures and you had classes, you would sit in there sometime for hours. If we like a movie, we'll watch a movie for 2 or 3 hours. No problem.
No problem.
And so it's important that we get everything that we need, because he's showing us and he's constantly reminding us of the things not to fall into. We don't want to repeat the same things that our ancestors and forefathers did. We want to move forward. And in moving forward, you need to know what was their setback. We need to know what was their setback. And in knowing what their setback was, we can be sure to that we won't find ourselves doing that same thing in Washington. And if we're challenged in there, we still know what not to give in to. That's important for us to understand in this walk.
That's right.
It is a process, and that process is not hard, but it is challenging because you have to renew your mind according to Romans
yes.
12 and 2. We have to renew our mind, but first, according to the first verse, 12 and 1, you have to present your body. And by presenting your body, now you have prepared your mind to be ready to move forward.
That's right.
With the process of development. And so that's what's important, and that's what we do here. And we have been doing it, and we will continue to do it. I pray those of you that stuck and stayed with us in our pre-Shabbat class, that you will join us in the morning. You who are willing at 11:45. We'll be back at it, and we'll be praising, worshiping our Yahuwah, and we'll be diving into the writings. Because we want to not just grow, we want to develop. And we don't want to just develop, we want to grow. It is a process that has to come together. It has to be a united thing. You can't grow and not develop. And you don't want to develop and not grow, and you don't want to grow and not develop. Anybody ever seen them little bitty stunted vegetables on the vine? That means they didn't grow, but they developed. But you really can't do nothing to it because it's what? It's a dwarf. And you don't want to eat those things. You want to get the right ones. So we want to develop and we want to grow according to what he has given us. So with that being said, I want to say to you, may Abba Yahuwah keep you. May he continue to smile upon you. May he continue to give you sweet rest and commune with you on this Layla. I want you to remember that I am Aliyah Yasharal, and I am the leader of Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom of Great Belief Ministries located in South Carolina. I want you to remember here at Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom of Great Belief Ministries, this is the place where the Torah does the body excellent. Until next time, may Abba Yahuwah Baruch Atah and keep you in his shalom until we meet again. Also, I want you to remember that you've been touched by Champion TV, a place where the champions reside. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.